It is in this country that Nnamdi Kanu was abducted, and I acted for Nnamdi Kanu, and we have gotten a judgment in his favor. The government has been condemned to pay 10 million and taken to Nigeria, and is in prison in Nigeria. It is in this country that Kizza Besigye was abducted. It cannot be right. If you look at international law, Mama Samia Suluhu Hassan, whom I know and respect, will have it very difficult to even travel outside of Tanzania. It will not be easy. In the history of any country, whenever there has been death, it is never the same again. The age of innocence is gone.
So are you saying she's an illegitimate president?
There is a crisis of legitimacy. You know, many people don't make this distinction, that which is legal is not necessarily right. So from a legal perspective, he has gone through the process of the electoral process as prescribed under Tanzanian law. So to that extent, her presidency is legal. But is her presidency legitimate and anchored in morality as seen by the reasonable public opinion? The answer to that question is no. It is no, because when you hear voices of reason, and the voices of reason that I know and that I talk to are actually sympathetic to Tanzania. Because then Tanzania is the only country, or was the only country, where ethnicity had been killed as the basis of mobilization. Its economy is on the up. For it to happen that through an electoral period, people die. And when you are dealing with matters as live as we see in the region and in the continent, there are many opinions, and that is what we should encourage.
We should encourage.
We should encourage people to speak their minds on the basis of the evidence that is available to them. They should then help. And many times, what people do not know is that those who come out and speak actually mean well.
But it looks like dissent is becoming a threat in especially East Africa.
Is the name of the game, because the intolerance is becoming something that is taking space in East Africa. Those in political leadership do not want alternative views. But democracy, the thing we call democracy, is about competition of ideas. You put the ideas in the marketplace, and those who make the choice then decide which is the better idea.
But why do we have, because we've seen it, we've had Kenyans abducted in Uganda, we've had a Tanzanian abducted in Kenya, we have had a Ugandan abducted in Kenya also, Kizza Besigye. When you look at all these happenings, and then the other day we had even a headline that says it's a trinity of horror. What's the thing with these three presidents? You know,
I feel pain because those who are heads of state in this region are people that are known to us. They are people who, if you look at their history, at least some of them, you can say that they had good ideas. If I look at Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and his views in the 1980s when he was in the forefront of the liberation of Uganda, his clarity and his vision could not be questioned. He took the view that people should not stay in power for too long. He took the view that he should have successors. He took the view that views should be articulated. It therefore pains some of us who are sympathetic to that history to see the level of intolerance. Mama Samia Suluhu Hassan came from a history and a legacy of a great man, Julius Kambarage Nyerere, who believed in a competition of ideas. Nyerere would attend the University of Dar es Salaam and debate with students. And it therefore pains us, those who are sympathetic to that history and that legacy, to see the level of intolerance. I do not agree with my good friend Tindi Lisu on many issues, but I don't believe that he has committed the offense known to law as treason on the basis of the evidence that is available. And I do not believe that when you are going into an election, you ban people from participating in the election. It is the electorate that should make that decision. And if the electorate is not made or given the opportunity to make that decision, then whatever outcome there is illegitimate.
So are you saying she's an illegitimate president?
There is a crisis of legitimacy. You know, many people don't make this distinction, that which is legal is not necessarily right. So from a legal perspective, he has gone through the process of the electoral process as prescribed under Tanzanian law. So to that extent, her presidency is legal. But is her presidency legitimate and anchored in morality as seen by the reasonable public opinion? The answer to that question is no. It is no, because when you hear voices of reason, and the voices of reason that I know and that I talk to are actually sympathetic to Tanzania. Because then Tanzania is the only country, or was the only country, where ethnicity had been killed as the basis of mobilization. Its economy is on the up. For it to happen that through an electoral period, people die, it is painful. And it is for the love of Tanzania that we see this pain. Kenya, of course, to complete the circle, is also problematic. It is in this country that Nnamdi Kanu was abducted, and I acted for Nnamdi Kanu, and we have gotten a judgment in his favor. The government has been condemned to pay 10 million and taken to Nigeria, and is in prison in Nigeria. It is in this country that Kizza Besigye was abducted. It cannot be right. If you look at international law, rendition is something that we should not allow. People should be allowed to exercise their democratic rights, even if we don't agree with them. So you see, there is a crisis. We are signatories to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. We are signatories to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and all the UN charters. Why do we create an environment where people who don't agree with us become our enemies? It is a competition of ideas, so that what is happening in this region is that fear is being used by those in political leadership as an instrument of paralyzing the population into silence.
Will the population agree to that when you look at it?
History is consistent that you can only paralyze a population for so long. The things that we see, for example, that we saw in the Arab Spring, that brought down governments, what we have seen in the streets of Africa, it started in Nairobi, Kenya. It did not go the full length. We saw it in Cameroon. It did not go the full length. We saw it in Abidjan. It did not go the full length. We saw it in Dar es Salaam. It did not go the full length. It went the full length in Madagascar. It went the full length in Bangladesh. It went the full length in Nepal. Demonstration and protest is the language of the unheard. And wisdom has always required and demanded at once that you listen to people, because you are a trustee to hold public office. Why do we call people in public office honorable? It is not because of them. It is the office that we honor. Why do we call them excellencies? They are not, they may not even be excellent. Many times in Africa they are not. But it is the institution, the offices that they hold for the sake of the nation. When they begin to think that they are demigods, they must remember there was a French Revolution. They must remember that there was the Turkish revolt. They must remember that people rose the student protest in 1960s in Europe. They must remember that the colonialist was here and they left. And the sooner they do so, they must remember that recently Bashar al-Assad left for Moscow with a suitcase. They must remember that Rajuel in Madagascar disappeared. We do not know where they are. They must remember that Sheikh Hasina is hiding. Nobody knows where she is.
When we get to a point, and it's very interesting, you give live scenarios that we're experiencing now, but then on the other hand, you look at it, when our citizens, Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo, had been missing for 38 days, then they are released. And then on the same day, the president of Uganda confesses that we arrested them because I was told they are expert rioters, and I kept them in a fridge. Of course, yesterday we see the PS Singwei saying it was metaphorical for him to use that. But when a president confesses to arrest other citizens, yet the foreign affairs of Kenya doesn't seem like...
You know, I know both Njagi, I know Oyo. These are young men who mean well. They mean well. They feel pain for Kenya. They feel pain for humanity. They feel pain for the black man. When they went to Uganda, they were showing solidarity with one of the candidates. It is their right to do so. Of course, it is always wise to remember that when you're in a foreign country, the rules may be different. But when a national of a country is detained by a sister or brother country, it is incumbent upon that country's foreign affairs to be involved. You know, when I see the headlines of the Standard newspaper on the 13th day of November 2025 saying, we need diplomacy, you cannot contradict them. You cannot contradict them. Why do we have an embassy in Uganda? Did we see any attempt at negotiation? We did not. It is important that we take care of our citizens wherever they are, even when they are in trouble, particularly when they are in trouble. We had surrendered to the situation. If it had happened that it is their dead bodies that were delivered, our country would just have said, hey, voila.
So, is our top diplomat, CS Musalia Mudavadi, doing his job? Is he up to the task? Has he failed the country?
The cabinet secretary for the time being, Mr. Musalia Mudavadi, is somebody that I know. But I'm afraid to say that he has not discharged his functions to the best of the expectations of the people of Kenya.
What would be the limitations? Or what maybe that is holding him?
The question is, what is our foreign policy as a country? We may have papers that say this is our foreign policy, but diplomacy has a history to it. If you look at history, why do countries have foreign envoys? Countries have foreign envoys as number one, as a demonstration of the good relationship with the countries in which they are accredited. Countries have envoys for purpose of ensuring that their citizens in those spaces are protected. The cabinet secretary in the Kenyan arrangement is the chief diplomat. The ambassadors are appointed, of course, as the representatives of the head of state, and they're expected to protect their citizens. We want to hear them. This country has had foreign ministers who came out and articulated things on behalf of the Republic of Kenya firmly. I remember Munywa Wayaki discharging his functions firmly. I remember Robert Ouko. And whether you disagreed with them or not, they occupied those positions with dignity, and they were heard and they were respected. I'm nostalgic about those days. But today, and I know, and I am involved in a number of cases of Kenyans who are outside and are suffering outside of the Republic of Kenya, and you ask for assistance, not even an acknowledgement letter is written to you.
We've even lost citizens in Tanzania.
And nobody appears to be bothered. We have citizens in Dubai who are detained. Nobody is talking about them. We have citizens in the United States of America. Nobody is talking about them. And one therefore wonders, why do we have these individuals who are paid using taxpayers' money in those spaces? There is no shortage of Kenyans who can discharge this function. And when we speak as we do, then we are vilified and demonized. And they use the Kiswahili word, wachache wasiotosheka. How can we be satisfied when we can see that pain is being visited upon our kith and kin? We cannot be satisfied. We cannot afford that luxury. I would have thought right now, in light of what is going on in the East African region, in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, South Sudan, Somalia, and Democratic Republic of Congo and Burundi, I would have thought that an extraordinary meeting of the East African community would be summoned to discuss the crisis, because there is a crisis in the region. I would have thought that this is the time to convene such a meeting, to discuss what is happening, because the East African community is threatened. We thought that we would now be moving towards integration. But listen to the rhetoric. Are we talking as people who are moving towards integration?
We've even been threatened by about the Indian Ocean, accessed by the president of Uganda, and I don't think Kenya has said a thing.
Kenya has not said a thing. Perhaps that is wise diplomatically. I believe that what we should do as a country is to engage the president of the Republic of Uganda, and our communication should be that the ocean is for us to share. This is a common right. We have a duty, and some of us, in order to give meaning to those relationships, say that Uganda is not landlocked, Uganda is land-linked. South Sudan is not landlocked, is land-linked. Burundi is not landlocked, it is land-linked. Rwanda is not landlocked, is land-linked. In other words, the ports of Bagamoyo in Tanzania, Tanga, Mtwara, the port of Mombasa, the port of Lamu are available to them. If there are any hitches, these are things that should be handled diplomatically. And if we engage in that space and we are moving towards integration, even that kind of rhetoric becomes unnecessary. And this is why I hold the view that there are so many issues flying around in the East African region that it is necessary for the heads of states and government to do a quick meeting. And once they have done the quick meeting and have identified the issues, then the issues for determination can be cascaded to the relevant ministers, and the relevant ministers then cascade it to the bureaucrats.
Do you think she means well? Because you're saying they ought to have had conversations before.
Yes.
But just the other day, the deputy party leader of Chadema had been arrested again, I think on Monday, Tuesday. John Heche, and released. When they were released, they were asked what happened. They were saying they didn't even question us. There was nothing major. So when you look at it, how is this presidency, this term, going to be like for her?
In my view, if it continues in this way, it's going to be very painful. Because when you are in a space where you are not engaging those who you consider to be your opponents, your political opponents are not your enemies. You are all talking about the same country, just the perspective. Some people think the country should be run this way in matters agriculture, in matters health, but otherwise you are working towards the benefit of the same country. But if you consider your political opponents as your mortal enemies, then you end up being paranoid. You see enemies emerging from every corner, even when they are not there. You begin to have enemies, real and imagined. And when you are in that space, then you are in a very dangerous space. And that is why it is incumbent upon those who mean well for these conversations to begin in earnest. In this country, to our credit, whenever we have found ourselves in such situations, whenever we were on the brink, we have had these painful conversations. In 2007, 2008, the country was on the brink, and we had painful conversations. We made painful decisions. We created offices that were not necessary, sometimes just to massage people's egos in order to calm the temperatures and protect the country. Sometimes it becomes necessary for the long-term health of the country, because if you don't, then the country can collapse. Ask Sudan, the country has collapsed. Ask Central African Republic, the country has collapsed. Ask the Cameroonian, the country is collapsing. Ask our good friends, the Somalis, how long it has taken to rebuild that country again. So there are examples, but it is tragic that it appears that we do not learn anything from history and examples that are before us. We say we are different. No, history is consistent.
They say we are Tanzania, we're not Kenya.
James Omotosho, you can't sentence the 16 Fulani army that planned coup on Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but you want to sentence Nnamdi Kanu. Yoruba, you are the reason why Fulani has gone this far in Nigeria. Yoruba people, this is a pure case of 16 people being guilty of treasonable felony. James Omotosho, these are the people that you should sentence. You kept quiet. Yet you want to be that man Nnamdi Kanu because he's an Igbo man. And that is why when they talk about coalition, I pity, it's only somebody like Peter Obi. Peter Obi, charity begins at home. If you want a better Nigeria, Peter Obi, start from a better Igbo. Peter Obi, if you want a better Nigeria, start from a better Igbo land. Before you talk about Nigeria, you want to help Nigeria, a better Nigeria, but you don't care about better Igbo. Although your plan is dead on arrival, Peter Obi. Your plan is that they are just using you. Igbos in Nigeria is like a young beautiful girl that doesn't have sense. Men go mess you around, turn by turn. Yoruba come, they use you. Hausa come, Fulani, everybody use you. That is how the situation of Igbos in Nigeria. Thank God for Nnamdi Kanu. Thank God for Biafra. In Nigeria, Fulani wouldn't have gone this far. Just 2 points I will make myself clear. Number one is about the attempted coup on Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and no Yoruba community, no Yoruba media is talking about that. Do you know what it means? 16 Fulani army planned coup on Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It failed, and nobody's talking about that. Yet, Josie James Omotosho, a Yoruba man, is planning with his gang of APC to sentence Nnamdi Kanu. But this is a pure case of treasonable felony. Everybody kept quiet. Yoruba is the reason why Fulani has gone this far. Without Yoruba in Nigeria, Fulani wouldn't have gone this far. This is number one. They kept quiet. They want to sentence Nnamdi Kanu. If you allow them, they'll give you capital punishment. But these are pure case of capital punishment. This is a pure case of treasonable felony. 16 Fulani army planned it, it failed, and they are not talking about it. Can you now see how Yoruba are the reason why Fulani has gone this far in Nigeria? Yoruba. The second one is about the Christian genocide. Can you now see how all Yoruba Pentecostal, that is why that is why all these Pentecostals, no, they are businessmen. They are just businessmen and motivational speakers. Do you know that a Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, a Yoruba man is the head, the president of Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria? The man came out to deny the issue of Christian genocide in Nigeria. You know, when the issue of this Christian genocide in Nigeria started, it started from Bishop Kuka of Sokoto. He dismissed that. I was like, it's over. Then I came out and was asking Christians, boycott going to church. I never say boycott God or boycott your faith in God or your belief in Jesus Christ. No, I said boycott going to church. You are the reason why all these leaders are saying all these things. You know, I told you in one of my videos that the problem we have in Nigeria, the problem of an average man in Nigeria is political leaders and religious leaders. When it comes to Christianity, are the Christian leaders. You are political leaders and you are religious leaders. This two thing is your problem. I told them, boycott going to church. All this year, cover you are putting, it will keep them going. They will not be there for you. And that is why Nigerians, by next year, Nigeria, you go see Shege Banza. You are still in paradise. You know, in my video, I keep saying it, that Nigeria is irredeemable. That Nigeria is under serious course. Nigeria is under serious course. And Nigeria yesterday will be better than Nigeria today. Nigeria today will be better than Nigeria tomorrow. Yoruba are the reason why Fulani has gone this far. The correct one, I said it, the coup they plan. Yeah, they want to give Nnamdi Kanu capital punishment. James Omotosho, you can't sentence the 16 Fulani army that planned coup on Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but you want to sentence Nnamdi Kanu. Yoruba, you are the reason why Fulani has gone this far in Nigeria. Yoruba people, this is a pure case of 16 people being guilty of treasonable felony. James Omotosho, these are the people that you should sentence. He kept quiet, yet you want to be that man than Nnamdi Kanu because he's an Igbo man. Yoruba, if you blame Fulani people, blame also Yoruba people for the happenings in Nigeria. Christian genocide issue. Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, a Yoruba man is the president. He dismissed that. I've talked about Bishop Kuka. That one is apart. Adeboye, the one that drank tea with God every day. You can see the advice he gave Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They don't want anybody to come and help them fix Nigeria. They are talking about taking Nigerian resources. Who will take Nigerian resources? Who? Kumuyi. They dismiss that. Femi Lazarus, any woman that is still going to Yoruba churches, yeah, only God will help you. And that is why when they talk about coalition, I pity. It's only somebody like Peter Obi. Peter Obi, charity begins at home. If you want a better Nigeria, Peter Obi, start from a better Igbo. Peter Obi, if you want a better Nigeria, start from a better Igbo land. Before you talk about Nigeria, you want to help Nigeria, a better Nigeria, but you don't care about better Igbo. Although your plan is dead on arrival, Peter Obi. Your plan is dead. They are just using you. Igbos in Nigeria is like a young beautiful girl that doesn't have sense. Men go mess you around, turn by turn. Yoruba come, they use you. Hausa come, Fulani, everybody use you. That is how the situation of Igbos in Nigeria. Thank God for Nnamdi Kanu. Thank God for Biafra. Yoruba are the reason why Fulani has gone this far in Nigeria. They are the reason. I've just given you 2 points. Let me stop here for now, because if I keep saying, I'll keep saying it. The current issue on ground is the issue of treasonable felony. Fulani, 16 Fulani army planned coup on Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No Yoruba media, no Yoruba community is talking about that. They kept quiet. Can you see how they are doing that? Currently on Christian genocide, all of them are debunking it. All of them are debunking it. And tomorrow, if Donald Trump refuses to come to help Christians in Nigeria, he's not coming to invade, to take any oil or whatever in Nigeria. President Trump is not coming to take anything from Nigeria to help Christians. If Trump did not come tomorrow, you'll be surprised. Whereas all your Christian leaders are not in support of that. I told you, major big figures, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria president, a Yoruba man, he dismissed that there's no Christian genocide in Nigeria. Adeboye, the one that always drank tea with God, he dismissed that. He was giving Bola Ahmed Tinubu advice. He's not in support of Donald Trump coming to help Christians in Nigeria. Kumuyi, the one that said that God will fix Nigeria as at 1980s. We should pray for Nigeria. We are still praying for Nigeria. He dismissed that. Femi Lazarus, manipulator, he dismissed that. Name them. I thank God for people like Oseni, the guy in Arise television. Sometimes I wonder if the guy is a Yoruba guy. The guy sounds like an Igbo guy. Show these are, I think they are, check them very well. Maybe they must have some Igbo something. There must be some Igbo connection with them. These guys, I don't believe they are just pure Yoruba guys, because Yoruba. It's not only Yoruba media now, but Yoruba Pentecostal leaders. Yoruba are the reason why Fulani has gone this far in Nigeria. I remember something now. Do you know that Fulani are associated in taking Ironin from Yoruba people? They are still doing all this thing that do because of Igbo people. Yoruba. You are the reason why Fulani has gone this far in Nigeria.